Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, directed by James Gunn, brings our heroes back to the screen once again. This time they're called in by the Sovereign beings to guard some sort of batteries, and when that operation goes south, the Guardians are on the run, and during this time we dive deeper into the character's story and get closer to understanding Peter Quill's purpose. Now, some of the things that I really like about this film was that it was much funnier than I anticipated. The first film was pretty hilarious, and this one kind of upped up the game, and it was a lot of fun to watch because of all the humor that was in there. There are certainly a lot of great moments in the film between Gamora and Nebula, or Peter Quill and Yondu in particular, that really flesh out some of the characters a lot better and create just some really great scenes. The movie continues to be brilliantly shot with awesome effects and manages to follow up with the same feel that made the first Guardians of the Galaxy so good. Characters that the first film set up continue to be further developed along with some interesting backstories, and it gives us more weight to these characters and answer even some of the questions that were on my mind after the first film. Unfortunately, the film does have some issues in terms of story and some of the things that they add in here that kind of just hurt this film in the long run. For one, the film is trying too hard to be better than its predecessor. They throw way too many puns and jokes in the film. There are times the film, it gets serious. But when you have humor inserted left and right every 2 minutes, it kind of takes away from those moments. I want to say that a certain character dies in the film, and not a whole lot of time is given to mourn the loss of the character. We had the same kind of issue with this with Star Wars The Force Awakens when, spoiler alert, Han Solo got killed off. There was a very brief moment that we got to be like in shock and kind of mourn the character. In this film, we kind of feel the same thing. It gives a little bit more time for you to think, wow, this character just died. But not enough, because right after that, they throw in another joke. And it's like, this movie is not taking things seriously, and it's just constant jokes thrown in, especially the first 2 acts, because it's nothing but jokes. Every character has some kind of pun that they're throwing out, and it really kind of gets on your nerves a little bit. Because you want to take this film a little bit more seriously, considering that things are going to be more and more serious once they cross paths with Thanos. And they certainly make references to that Thanos is going to be their next target. Also, some of the jokes that are thrown in here kind of fall flat. They feel a bit reused and repetitive. I mean, how many times am I going to hear Rocket being confused for another animal, whether it's a fox, a rat, a hamster, or so on? They did it so many times, it gets tiresome to hear it, especially since the first film did it multiple times, and now this film is kind of doing the same thing over and over again. There's also another character named Taserface. They go a little bit overboard with repeating the same joke one too many. Also, it takes a while for this film to really start getting somewhere. Like I said, the first 2 acts have so many jokes that it's really hard to see an actual legit story, because it only really starts picking up in the 3rd act, with an opening credit scene lasting about 3 minutes, where it's just music in the background and then just like fighting, and you have credits rolling, and a race of gold people introduced for no reason at all other than to give us mindless action scenes, because the villain is only introduced in the 3rd act. Just kind of hurts this film, like I said, on the long run, because there's not much going on in the first 2 acts. Because we're only really getting to the important part of the film, which is the 3rd act. It's like they have to waste some time. And the first 2 acts are just, why are they there? What are these gold people doing here? Yes, they're going to be more relevant in Volume 3, but I wanted them to be relevant in this film. To be honest, I didn't really care for these gold sovereign people. They just looked very weird, even to Guardians of the Galaxy standards, which is pretty campy, but you still take some moments seriously, right? With these sovereign people, I really just didn't care for them, and I didn't think they should have been in the film. In fact, if you take them out of the film, it wouldn't have done anything to the story. It's just, you wouldn't have any action going on until the 3rd act. So you would actually wait about an hour with no action, and of course that wasn't just going to fly with anybody. Oh, where's the action in this film? No, whoa. Also, there is an abundant amount of music from the 70s, and it's really just used to take a break from all the jokes and wall breaks that they're doing, and they do one too many. Like, there was just a perfect amount of songs in the first film, and they were more iconic songs, I think, for my generation. Because I think even younger audiences, even though they're 70s songs, they've heard of those songs. In this film, they're not as familiar to me. Maybe for older generations, they are. And I thought they threw in way too many. It was kind of like Kong Skull Island. Anytime we would get an action scene, they would just throw in some kind of score from like the 80s or something. And this film kind of suffers the same thing, just constantly using music to take a break from things. And there were some good song choices, I will say, because one of the themes of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is father and son relationship, and there's one song called Father and Son, which I thought was a really good addition for the film. But just other songs, they just feel really forced, just kind of thrown in there to take a break. And I wish we'd have more dialogue in this film, because there are really great moments between Yondu and Peter Quill, and we just have very few moments where we have really good dialogue because it's nonstop jokes and music just playing. I wanted something more out of the dialogue, considering that I thought that Guardians of the Galaxy were going to be part of the Avengers Infinity Wars, and I was expecting this film to be a little bit more serious than it actually was. It's just that the mood is just way too light, given the nature of the things to come. I just want it to be more serious. I'm not saying pull a Batman v Superman and not have any humor, but you just gotta know your limit. The dialogue just isn't there. The first film was great. This film kind of dropped the ball a little bit in that area. Other than the gold people, I would say the character of Mantis created for some really awkward scenes, and just a character I could have used without in this film as well. As for the third act, I think third act was pretty strong. Kurt Russell was okay. I think he could have done better, but he was fine. I don't know if I necessarily liked the way everything was handled with his character without going into like detail. But otherwise, the third act is pretty strong. But don't let that fool you into thinking that the movie is great. As much as I really liked this film, it could have been better. If anything, I would say that this film has gotten me more excited for Volume 3, but I don't want to see gold people, and judging by the end credit scenes, we're going to be getting more of them. So I don't know how to take that, but it's still a lot of fun to watch. There's just a couple of minor issues that I had. This film, still people are going to enjoy. Maybe even people in their 40s and 50s are going to enjoy this a little bit more because of the music. But for me, it was a bit of a step down to the first Guardians of the Galaxy film. Still had a lot of fun watching it. I do recommend that people go check it out in theaters. I didn't see it in 3D, but I heard 3D is pretty good. Just for this one, lower your expectations a little bit. It's still a lot of fun to watch. It's funny. It has some really great character moments. It doesn't really set up anything for Infinity Wars, but we do get a couple of end credit scenes they're fine. They're not like really great or anything, but pretty solid film. And for that reason, I'm going to be giving Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 a B-. So that's my review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. If you have any thoughts about this film, whether you've seen it or not, just comment your thoughts down below in the comments section. Also, give this video a big thumbs up if you would. I would appreciate it. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so down below. And I'll see you guys next time for more unboxings, reviews, and movie news. Still a lot of fun to watch. There's just a couple... This is ridiculous!